Well, I don't know if this is your first podcast or not, but you're doing pretty good. Okay, staying relatively close to the mic. So we got pretty good levels.
I did stand-up comedy for 20 years. So
that's what I was.
The Bob and Tom Show for 12 years.
Yeah.
Always find what you love at Total Wine & More. With so many great bottles to choose from at the lowest price, it's easy to find your favorite Cabernet or a new single-barrel bourbon to try with some help from one of their friendly guides. And with every bottle comes the confidence of knowing you just found something amazing. With the lowest prices for over 30 years, find what you love and love what you find only at Total Wine & More. Curbside pickup and delivery available in most areas. Visit TotalWine.com to learn more. Spirits not sold in Virginia and North Carolina. Drink responsibly and be 21. Do you ever pour yourself a bourbon, swirl it around, and then start struggling to come up with tasting notes? And perhaps you're also looking for a good Father's Day gift idea. Well, you can now solve both with a kit from Knows Your Bourbon. And unlike other nosing kits on the market, Knows Your Bourbon kits feature real ingredients for the most authentic aromas. You can smell real Tahitian vanilla bean instead of some synthetic aroma that's just made from chemicals. So head on over to knowsyourbourbon.com and enter code BP10 for 10% off your order. Ed Bly and Rising Tide Spirits are back again with a new release of Old Stubborn Bourbon. And this release of Old Stubborn is a premium hand marriage of 10, 11, and 12-year cask strength, barely filtered pot still bourbon. It comes in at a staggering 123.8 proof. And the flavoring grain for this one, which the last one was wheated, but this time it's now rye. Rich, sweet, and bold with a long finish that's sure to be another eye-opener. You can order online at Sealbox or thebourbonconcierge.com, and you can even purchase in person at Revival Vintage Spirits, and even now with very few select stores in Kentucky. You can get it now while you can, but be sure to do it because it's not going to last long.
Play Whiskey Wednesday Round 11, the memory game. Until June 26, each week you can win one of our 12 incredible grand prizes. Select 2 doors at checkout. And if they match on drawing night, you'll win that bottle. Not a match? No worries. You still score a Weller 12-year. Every $5 ticket gives you 5 chances to win, including 4 weekly bonus prizes. Get your tickets now at give270.org. Charitable Gaming License ORG 0002703.
From their bar to yours, Chad and Sarah of the popular YouTube channel It's Bourbon Night bring you their favorite at-home old-fashioned mix with the new Elemental Elixir's Golden Hour Syrup. It's a custom-made syrup with notes of bold black tea, warm spices, and orange zest. All you need is your favorite whiskey and ice. No bitters needed. One bottle makes 16 drinks, so that's only $1 a cocktail before you add your own whiskey. They can also be enjoyed in other cocktails or spirits, mocktails, coffee, tea, and anything you can think of. It's crafted locally in Lexington, Kentucky, and you can get your bottle now at whiskeyambitions.com.
Absolutely. So I guess let's talk about maybe some of the, because there's a lot of brands in Heaven Hill. I mean, there's a lot, even outside of whiskey, right? But we'll focus on whiskey, and let's talk. I'll name one off, and you kind of just give me a small little fact or tidbit about like.
There's one I want to know about.
Go ahead.
Probably
You go
Tom
first.
Peters. I want to know about this.
That's a new one on me.
Oh, really?
I really don't know that one.
It might be overseas then. A friend of mine has given me some Tom Peters.
Was he overseas?
No, it's from Heaven Hill, I guess.
Yeah. Well, these are regardless.
Stump the chump on a question.
Regardless, well, we have Daniel Stewart. That's overseas. There's Mark Twain. Someone's around. Some of those are all little regional brands.
Yeah.
And I don't even know them all.
Right.
So we don't have any emphasis on Tom Peters. So I guess, but that's that's easy to say. That's going to be our standard recipe. And then you can look on the label. If it says it's 36 months old, that means it's 3 years old. And whatever proof it is, that's what's going to be. If it doesn't have an age on it, it's 4 years old, and whatever proof it is.
Right. So let's start off with the easy one, Heaven Hill.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
you think that's easy?
Maybe. I don't know.
But there's a lot of different Heaven Hills.
Yeah.
Heaven Hill's awesome. It's one of my favorites. But if you come to my house,
the green
you're going to get the 6-year-old bottle and bond. I mean, bang for your buck. We don't want to tell too many people about this, right? But it's a very cool brand to be proud of. First of all, the name of the company's on the label. The company made the first barrel December 13th, 1935, which was a Friday. So Friday the 13th is very lucky for Heaven Hill. And if you watch Forrest Gump, that is the Gold Label, which is a 4-year-old bottle and bond, which was a regional brand up in New York and New Jersey. We had some of it down around this way. Of course, Kentucky had everything because the company's from here. But when Lieutenant Dan is drinking in Times Square in New Year's Eve, and he rolls up and says, "I'm here to be your first mate, Gump," he's got a bottle of Heaven Here, a 4-year-old bottle and bond. So, and trust me, we did not pay for product placement.
That's really awesome
in that movie. But the 6-year-old has got 2 more years of age on him.
Right.
And so that makes that product the second oldest age-stated bottle and bond on the planet.
Cool. All right.
And it's $12 a bottle.
Oh, yeah, I know. That's the real secret. That's the kicker right there. So Henry McKenna.
Henry McKenna, my favorite whiskey that we make. So that is my absolute favorite.
Bottle and bond.
It's bottle and bond, which is going to be one of my favorites. But 10 years old, I think that is one of my sweet spots. You know, I'm pretty big between 8 and 15 years. And then over that, it starts getting out of my wheelhouse. And younger than that, I like younger too. But that really seems to bring out a lot of great barrel notes for me, 8 to 15 years.
Mm-hmm. Who was Henry McKenna?
Henry McKenna was an Irishman from the County Derry. And he came over to the United States in the 1830s. And he knew how to make whiskey. Obviously, he came from Ireland. That's where they had it. But he was a miller, so he ground the grains for his neighbors. Because he was probably down near Hardin's Creek, probably right where Jacob Beam and the little creek that goes through Maker's Mark, that's Hardin's Creek. So you had to be on a creek with the wheel well that grind the grains for your neighbors. And like many people who got into distilling, they would trade, they would barter. So he wouldn't say, "Oh, you owe me this much money because I just ground your grains up." He would keep a percentage of that grain. And then he was going to make whiskey. He was going to make money out of it because he was going to make whiskey from it. Mm-hmm. So he got into business and he started making whiskey in 1855. And then he brought his friend over, Patrick Sweeney, I think was his friend, who 2 years later came and kind of ran the distilling operation. But his sons stayed in the business. It was a brand. It was a big brand. It was around after Prohibition, obviously, when we bought it. I'm not sure what year that Heaven Hill bought it, but it's a great brand. It's a single barrel. It's the oldest age-stated bottle and bond on the planet, and it's a single barrel. So if you look, there's only one other single barrel bottle and bond out there, but it's not $30.
Right.
And this is $30.
Exactly. All right. JTS Brown.
You know, I'm sure you all know because most guys know, but that's from the movie The Hustler. That's the brand that Fast Eddie Felsen drank. When you ever watched the movie The Hustler?
I haven't, I guess.
My.
Oh, yeah, man.
You'll lose your guy card here.
I know.
But he's so when Fast Eddie Felsen, who's playing Minnesota Fats, so he is when they're playing, they start to get serious. They play for like 14 or 18 hours, and you have them playing. They want to get serious. And he says, "Who's the actor who plays Fast Eddie Felsen?" It's Jackie Gleason plays Minnesota Fats, and oh my gosh,
we'll edit it.
I'm gonna lose my guy card. Anyway, he says Jackie Gleason's character Minnesota Fats says, "Preacher," who's the nickname of the guy. "Preacher, here's a couple $. Go down to the tavern to the store, get me a bottle of white tavern whiskey, a glass, and some ice." He wore a 3-piece suit and a carnation. He looked great all the time. And Paul Newman's character says, Fast Eddie Felsen, "Hey, preacher, here's a couple $. Go get me a bottle of JTS Brown. No glass, no ice." He just drank it out of the bottle. Nice. And, of course, when he did the remake of The Color of Money, he was the sales rep for JTS Brown. But JTS Brown, the best name, and that's kind of what brings it. We always get calls on JTS Brown after that movie plays. But that's John Thompson Street Brown. JTS Brown.
I love this is my favorite part right here. I just love naming these off and learning these new things
from the Brown family. That's
that's a pretty prominent name. All right, let's go with one that I might stump you. Rittenhouse Rye. Where did Rittenhouse Rye probably come from?
Well, that's Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. So that's rye whiskey had its. Rye is available in New York, Pennsylvania, Maryland. That's where you had these rye distilleries because you make whiskey from the grains that grow around you. In Ireland, Scotland, it's barley. They didn't have corn in the old world. It's a new world grain. So they use barley. So they're barley based. Canada, a lot of rye. You know, so we get our rye now from Canada because it grows anywhere. It's a grass, but it just happened to grow better in the north. So Canada, New York, Maryland, Pennsylvania. So that's rye whiskey becomes kind of their evolution. Like we evolved because we had corn. We have a lot of corn around here. We have a lot of wheat. That's where you find wheat getting into the recipes. That the first 2 years, Henry McKenna made what we would call a wheated bourbon. Just like W.L. Weller was making in 1849. He put wheat into his recipes. Then you have all that in that evolution too. So you just have you use what's around you. And Pikes in Pennsylvania was known for rye, and so that brand started right after Prohibition. I think that it was 1937 when it finally came out. By 1939, 1940, it was a bottle and bond product. Because that's what you wanted to be.
Yep.
Was bottle and bond. So just even like when Heaven Hill started, they had their first bourbon was Bourbon Falls. It was a 2-year-old, so it was a straight whiskey. It was important, a straight whiskey, not a blended whiskey, because that's the stuff that could have the iodine and all the stuff added to it. So that where straight was pure, nothing but pure water added to it, and aged for at least 2 years old. So that was the goal. That's what made you different than Seagram's or Hiram Walker, the giants of the world, who had Seagram's 7 and Seagram's 5 Crown, and which eventually one of those became VO. VO was Seagram's. Eventually they had in 1964 launched a little brand called Crown Royal out of that. Okay, so those were blending houses. They were like going against Warren Buffett and Donald Trump. You know, you don't want to go up against the monsters. So here in Kentucky, we made straight whiskey. Like, we'll let them have that. We want straight whiskey. And, you know, bottle and bond's going to be what we want to go for. So Rittenhouse became a household. There was a lot of rye whiskey in Pennsylvania and Maryland. Mm-hmm. And from that, we had our new Pikesville that just launched, which is I was going to ask about that. So Pikesville was a brand that's been around since 1895. So these are brands that we acquired when everybody else was going out of business, when, you know, the people were selling out, you know, because there was a glut of whiskey after the Korean War. And there was a glut. So, you know, in time, look at the oil prices today. There's a glut. So who ever thought we'd see $1.90 gas again ever?
I saw $1.60 the other day.
How about that?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what happened when there was a glut. And that's when like the Beam family had to sell out in the 60s. That's when Hiram Walker purchased Maker's Mark. That's when in 1981. That's when Stitzel-Weller goes out of business. Okay, and we're still around because they didn't diversify into other spirits. Our family diversified into other spirits. So that's how important it is to diversify and make you know, that's why everybody sells vodka and everybody sells rum. But for us in Kentucky, the heart and soul is bourbon. It makes no sense to make bourbon or rye because it's so expensive.
Yeah, it's a long-term for your return on your investment.
You can make rum today, sell it tonight. You can make vodka today, sell it tonight. You have to have passion for it. So we spend $51 million a year in wood at Heaven Hill before we make the first drop with barrels. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make economic sense.
Make sure that ROI is there.
And then you got to wait.
The angel seed round, right? Like nobody's going to take you serious.
And then you got to wait 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years. And so you got to sit on that. And then you lose some every year. I mean, it's not a business model that anybody would sit there and go, I got to get into this.
Mm-hmm. You know, so. All right. I've got 3 more, just only because I'm very interested. J.W. Dant.
J.W. Joseph Washington Dant from that.
Yet another bottle
Dant Station, Kentucky. So and that was a big brand that he started in 1836, and his sons kept that bit going and ran the company after Prohibition too. I think his sons did. So J.W. Dant is a great cool old name. Another label that we have it in a 4-year-old 80 proof in some markets. It's a bottle and bond in markets too. It's a regional brand. Just like JTS Brown, just like Heaven Hill Gold Label, just like TW Samuels. Okay, those were redundant brands. They were all same age, some of the same proof, but they were available in certain parts of the country. People say, what's the difference in them? Well, I guess you can say they're a small batch. They were different dumps, but they're basically the same whiskey, but they're regional brands. Mm-hmm. So that's why we chose, when we have a national bottle and bond, we made it Evan Williams white label bottle and bond. We just launched that 3 years ago because you can only use barrels that were put up in one season for bottle and bond, because it's the Eagle Scout. It's the most restricted. You can't feed 5 bottle and bonds that are 4 years old, 100 proof. You got to pick one. Evan Williams, number 2 selling bourbon in the world. We went with that.
Yeah, right. Makes sense.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. I know.
Connecting dots here.
Really. Okay, so the Bottle Chase brand, Parker's Heritage.
Mm-hmm. Well, that came out because, Parker, his birthday's in September, and the Bourbon Festival's in September, so that's when the release is for Parker's Heritage. And because he's been in the business for 56 years, we'd honored him, and he and Craig and Denny and Charlie, those barrels are, we have projects aging right now, because when we came out with the 13-year-old, the original year of the wheat whiskey that Craig made, we always hold some barrels back because it could be a potential Parker's. So you got to think about these things 10, 15, 20 years in advance. So every year it's a different expression. Mm-hmm. And so last year was when we came out with an 8-year-old malt whiskey.
Malt, yeah.
Who's got malt whiskey and who's got 8-year-old malt whiskey? We do.
Yeah.
And that was our 6th recipe that we had. So we have things aging that are other recipes and other things, and all of a sudden we'll come out with it and it'll be 8 or 10 years old. How did you do that? Well, we've been doing this a while.
Yeah. Got some secret stocks.
And Parker had great insight and foresight to do that. And the family, it's become one of our most influential brands.
I believe so. All right. Last one's a fun one. Fighting Cock.
Fighting Cock. Great old brand too. That is a brand that came out to poise against, I boil our philosophy, and I don't know if our owners would agree with this. I think I've kind of asked them. They kind of do, but I boil it down to longer, stronger, cheaper. So you find the category leader, you age it longer in the barrel, you put it stronger in the bottle, and you charge less for it. So you don't find a lot of stuff.
This seems really backwards, doesn't it?
I think we're still here. Yeah. So Fighting Cock obviously was going up against Wild Turkey. Mm-hmm. So Wild Turkey, Fighting Cock, Wild Turkey's 101, Fighting Cock's 103.
Right. Just got to play the game, right?
Cheaper,
Shopify's already taken the cash register online, helping millions sell billions around the world. But did you know that Shopify can do the same thing at your retail store? Give your point-of-sale system a serious upgrade with Shopify. Shopify's point-of-sale is your command center for your retail store. From accepting payments to managing inventory, Shopify has everything you need to sell in person. And with Shopify, you get a powerhouse selling partner that effortlessly unites your in-person and online sales into one source of truth. Track every sale across your business in one place and know exactly what's in stock. Connect with customers in-line and online. Shopify helps you drive store traffic with plug-and-play tools built for marketing campaigns, from TikTok to Instagram and beyond. And get hardware that fits your business. Take payments by smartphone. Transform your tablet into a point-of-sale system, or use Shopify's point-of-sale Go mobile device for a battle-tested solution. Plus, Shopify's award-winning 24/7 help is there to support your success every step of the way. Do retail right with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/bourbon, all lowercase, and go to shopify.com/bourbon to take your retail business to the next level today. Shopify.com/bourbon. If you're anything like me, then you can't get enough about bourbon. And that's why I'm a subscriber to Bourbon Plus magazine. Bourbon Plus is a quarterly publication that tells the stories from the heart of bourbon, the farmers who grow the grain, the distillers who labor over the process, and the people like you and me who raise their glasses to celebrate it all. Subscribe to Bourbon Plus magazine today at bourbonplus.com, that's PLUS.com, and use code PURSUIT at checkout for $5 off your subscription.
All right, so then the last one I guess we'll talk about, since the cat's out of the bag, let's talk about Elijah Craig and dropping the 12-year age statement. Mm-hmm. We've read all kinds of things that it's going to be a mix of 8 to 12-year barrels now. I guess, first, let's get your kind of stance on age statements, right? Because I know you kind of have you can kind of go on rants a little bit about it, if you will, right?
Well, age statements are important when it's an age-stated product. Age statements is something I've been talking about for a very long time. It's also something that Heaven Hill has more of than any distillery out there. It's changing labels and making changes like this are not easy decisions to make, but sometimes you have to make decisions. And 5 years ago, bourbon was just starting to become kind of a thing again. It was a diamonds that always have been there. But for some reason, TV shows, personalities, the price of scotch and other imported, we're going to 70, 80 hours a bottle, and here's a bottle of, buy a bottle of Parker's for $80 that's as good as this 25-year-old scotch or whatever it is, So people, we have all these whiskey shows and different festivals that highlight. So it's a lot of building blocks of why it became this huge, big thing. But in 1986, when Elijah Craig launches, it's $9.99 a bottle, and not many people bought it. Because in the 80s, my dad and other people, they would look at that and say, and my dad told me, my dad drank Heaven Hill Green Label 6-year-old, 90 proof, till the day he died. He said, I don't trust a bourbon over 6 years old. And most of the expressions that were available were 4, 5, 6 years old. You didn't see a whole lot of old bourbons or old whiskeys out there. If you did, it's because it was a glut in the market. It didn't sell. So you bottle it under a different thing and try to sell it. So back then in the 80s, no one was buying. Very few people were buying Elijah Craig at $9.99 a bottle. And when other companies like Jim Beam and I.W. Harper and different ones had older whiskeys, they were putting them in decanters. And because they didn't think you'd buy old whiskey. People like my dad weren't going to buy a 10-year-old whiskey. But they might buy it if it's in a cool collectible decanter. So we're going to put it in there. And if you look at those old bottles, a lot of them will say aged for 120 months or aged for 150 months. So first of all, they're trying to hide a little bit that it's old whiskey. Well, today we'd be bragging about it, but this is a different time. So, and they also know people in Kentucky, a lot of us can't do math. So they didn't want you to know it's 10 and 12 and 15-year-old whiskey. I have been saying for the last few years, older American whiskeys is a modern phenomenon. And it starts with things like the very special things that Stitzelweller used to do with the very, very old Fitzgerald and this, those were once a year, like we do at Parker's or the birthday bourbons or that, the different expressions, the different distilleries do. But then to have the foresight and Max Shapira here and the distillers here with Parker and Craig to come out with a 12-year-old age-stated 94 proof product that was $9.99. It wasn't until early 90s, 92, 94 that the 18-year-old Elijah Craig comes out, and it kind of shines a little spotlight. Wow, this is pretty good. We had no idea this could be good. I think it was $34.99, 18-year-old. And then a guy named Julian Van Winkle is going around. How else do you think Julian was able to walk up to a distillery and say, I want all your old whiskey. You got anything that's 15, 20, 23 years old, something like that? Why do you want it? I want to buy them. How do you think you couldn't do that today? How do you think he was able to do that back then? Because no one was drinking older whiskey. That's a modern phenomenon. So here he was able to go and just buy hundreds of barrels. And then we're kind of building, it's been since 1986 coming. So it's only been in the last few years people are like really worried about, not worried, really giving more credence to old whiskey. I happen to like old whiskey. Like I said, over 15, I like the R18. I like 23. It's good, but I kind of like younger whiskey. That's why we make a lot of them. I don't have to like them all. I can appreciate them for what they are. But so if we've always taken age statements. If you have more of something, you put an age on it before, because they do go bad after a while. After about 25, 27, 30 years, you're not going to have anything left in the barrel anyway. Mm-hmm. But then it can be, if it's from a top floor, it can be too much oak, too much tannins. That's why all of our older whiskey comes from the first floor, because and we've been making older whiskey for longer than most people. So we can do that. And we know where they store them and stuff. Just because you have 25-year-old whiskey doesn't mean it's good.
Right.
It depends on where it ages. So, I mean, when Jack Daniels took from 90 to 86 proof and from 86 proof to 80 proof, no one cared. No one even noticed. Till years later. Just a few years ago, Basil Hayden lost an age statement.
Mm-hmm. Used to be 8.
Didn't hear about that.
Yep.
No one was called names. No one was called liars. No one was called trying to cover things up. No conspiracy. It's only been in the past few years. We have more bloggers. We have Twitters. We have tweets. We have all this stuff somehow more under a microscope. And they go, well, you're just trying to make more money. Well, if we were, we'd be charging more than $26 for a 12-year-old product too. Mm-hmm. And we weren't. Okay. So you're faced with decisions.
We can't help it. You're drinking it all. That's what you tell them.
Right. So when you're faced with a decision like you have that, you can go the way. You can say we're going to keep. And I've been talking openly about this at all the whiskey shows and everything. Pretend you're a family member or on the leadership team or on the distilling team. You get a vote. You get an equal vote. We're selling more Elijah Craig now than we've ever sold ever. The brand's doing phenomenal. It's doing so good. We're going to run out of 12-year-old barrels. Let's not forget we also have an 18 and 23. So those barrels become 18 and 23. You just don't all of a sudden create 18-year-old whiskey. So there's going to have to be a decision made because demand is way outstripping supply. This is 12 years ago. There's that darn time machine we don't have, right? so we can't. So we got to deal with reality and make a tough decision. What are you going to do, Ryan? What are you going to do, Kenny? Are you going to keep it on, or are you going to take it off?
Right.
You each get a vote. What would you vote?
Well, I mean, it's a pretty simple thing, right? I mean, if you got to be able to.
It's not simple, and it's not easy, and it's tough decisions. But what would you do?
I mean,
what would your vote be?
I totally agree. I think that.
No, I'm asking you what your vote would be.
Okay, my vote would be to take it off, and that's only just because you have to be able to keep up with demand, right? The last thing you want to do is just have a complete shortage in the market where it's just off the shelf, right? You still want to have that presence and that brand presence, and at the end of the day, I don't think the quality of the product is going to suffer at all. Right. I think it's still going to be the same quality. I mean, it's not like you're sitting there thinking like, oh, dear Lord, we've lost 20-year bourbons and they're all gone. Like, what's going to happen? Like, you're right. I think you're totally right in saying that I don't think you're going to see much difference. And you're not talking about $150 whiskey, right? You're talking about some
$26,
$30 bottle.
We'd like to be up. We'd like to get it up to a little bit towards $30 to deal with the other aged products that we're competing against in those what we call a super premium brand, still on the lower side. Let's just say, just for devil's advocate, you would say, I want to keep it on.
I want to keep it on.
Yeah.
Keep it on.
So if you keep it on, that's fine. Then you we saw what happened with WL Weller 12. It goes away. Mm-hmm. So it's still around. You can still get it, and it's at a very good price. But you got to be on a list.
It's impossible to find.
You got to be on a list.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, it never makes it to a shelf. So the brand doesn't grow, and you got to charge more for it because you're not having that growth and you're not building the brand. So you got to make that money up that you were making before. So now you're going to have to charge $20, $30, $40 in addition to what it was. And that is a total different option to do. You can do that, but that's the ramifications. So at the time, you make these decisions and you're going to make someone mad. Mm-hmm. Because if you keep it on,
you can't please everyone.
You're going to be a little upset because now it's $50.
And you can't find it.
And I can't find it. If we take it off, you can still find it, but you want $12.
Yeah.
The difference we had a unique situation when we were out of the 18. Remember we had that little fire. And so 19 years ago. So So we were out of some stocks. So the 18 went dark for about a couple of years, just came back. So what we did is we brought products out. Because rarely was those just 18 years old. A lot of those were 20, 21, 22, and 23 years old. If you ever look in the back of one of those old 18 bottles, you'll see that that was a minimum 18-year-old.
Yeah.
So that's why we started bottling the 20 by itself and 21 by itself and 22 by itself and 23 by itself. to show spotlight that, no, the 18's coming back, but no one believed us. I got people all the time, oh, you're stop making it. It's not available. It'll be back. And it came back. We weren't lying. It came back.
Right.
You know, and they don't trust you either. People don't, you're just saying that. Well, and there's all certain things that as the face of the brand, I'm told certain things to say and certain things, we got to control this so people don't go out and hoard and people don't go out and, do crazy things. Things are different than they used to be. Mm-hmm. So we came that, and also we came out with the barrel proof Elijah Craig. And boy, people really
ate it up.
Love that, and the color's so dark and it's so great. So what we've done is I think, made the best of both worlds. We've got a non-age stated 8 to 12-year-old mingle that's going to be the small batch, and we've got a 12-year barrel proof that the age statement's staying on. So we can do both. So if you want Elijah Craig, 12-year-old, age-stated, it's out there.
That's how I prefer
it's
it.
Barrel
anyway,
proof, but it's out there.
And you got to get on a list.
And now you're going to have to live with a beautiful small batch that's going to be $30 and available.
Right.
So that's what we did. So you can call us liars.
No,
I've been called liar. I've been called a liar. What is that? But it's okay. I did comedy for 20 years. I can take a little heckling. But that's just a decision. It's a business decision.
Absolutely.
And, there are distilleries. Stitzel-Weller's not here anymore. So there's decisions you have to make that are tough. And we're here to – it's a business.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, good deal. So we've way gone over our 30 minutes, and that's fantastic because I think we've got some great kind here. Mm-hmm. But we'll finish it up, and I want to just kind of highlight some more things on your personal side. Is you also play a lot of guitar, and you do bluegrass music. So kind of give the listeners kind of an idea of what you do and where you're going to be doing it.
Sure. Well, let's finish up with a little song.
There we go.
Do that. You can edit whatever out you want. But I hooked up with my buddy Hickory Vaught, who's a great bluegrass musician in town, and I've always wanted to pick bluegrass. I've always played guitar, but I wanted to be able to pick bluegrass, to be a real bluegrass picker, and this has allowed me to be able to learn how to do that. So when I came to Heaven Hill, I was like, well, this is a great opportunity, and we have so many different whiskeys with so many different recipes. I don't know where to start. We have so many different, how do you do a tasting? And I finally put together that we can do a tasting of how bourbon evolved from unaged corn whiskey to aged corn whiskey, wheat whiskey, rye whiskey, and bourbon whiskey that are bottle and bond, and a small batch of single barrel. That's the evolution of bourbon, how bourbon became the bourbon that we have today. And so Hickory was like, well, don't leave me out of this. And I want to jump in on this. So we play live bluegrass music from the 1700s, early 1800s, and through. So it's either music from the time period or about the time period that we're playing, that we're talking about. So when you're sipping on Mellow Corn, which is an aged corn whiskey, we play a song called Copper Kettle. Get your copper kettle, get your copper coil, fill it with new made corn mash, never will you toil. Right? So it's about making corn whiskey in the early 1800s. That's pretty dang on cool when you're sipping on the product and hearing music from Kentucky about it. Yeah. So that's what we do with that, and that's going to be one of the golden ticket things you can buy for at the Bourbon Affair this year.
Awesome.
Is the Bourbon Through Bluegrass show.
Yeah.
So that's fun.
Well, good deal. Well, let's hear a little tune, then we'll close it out with
Bourbon
that.
Pursuit
first.
Yeah. You can fade out. You can fade out this anytime you want, but I'll just play the song.
All right.
So this is a song called Distiller's Row. So when you go to Bardstown, on North 3rd Street there, that's where all the distillers live. So you could go, and the Samuels are next door to the Beams, and they're all distillers around. And when you go to Whiskey Row here in Louisville, different distilleries. So there's 23 bourbons in this song. So 23. My old granddad, he passed away, but he lived 94 years to the day. He's laid to rest right up on Heaven Hill with a spray of 4 roses on his grave. He'd drink a quart each and every day of some good store-bought Jim Beam. Dr. Forrester said, hey, Pappy, now you better cut it down. But then the good doc passed away, so who's to say? So raise a red eye to old Granddad. He lived to be an ancient age. That old crow sure left his maker's mark, and now he's drinking with the angels far away. And it goes on from there, but you got to come to the show to hear the rest.
There you go.
That's
Fantastic.
That's awesome.
Bourbon Pursuit first.
He's the most versatile guy I've known.
Yeah, I know. How about it? He's everywhere.
Hey, I'm not a master distiller. I got to dazzle him somehow.
That's right. Exactly.
So, Bernie, once again, thank you for coming on the show today. It's been a pleasure talking and really picking your mind, picking your guitar.
There you go.
It's been really a pleasure, I think, for at least this side of the table.
Well, thank you.
My head's still spinning from all the knowledge we got. Still trying to take it all in, so I appreciate it.
Well, awesome. Well, I appreciate your all's passion and spreading the word of American whiskey and bourbon around the world, because you're on the World Wide Web, and I'm going to Europe tomorrow. So.
There you go.
Well,
good luck
flight.
there.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, so if you like what you hear, make sure you subscribe to us on iTunes. You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter at The Bourbon Pursuit. You can also like us on Facebook. We're all over the social media, so make sure you follow us and talk to us as well, because we're pretty good guys to follow and spread all kinds of good cheer there.
We're interesting. Kenny's better than I am, but we're definitely here. But thanks, guys, and if you have any show suggestions or feedback, we appreciate that as well. So, and we'll see you next time.